Hello, everybody. How are you today? I'm Teacher Fe, and I have here today a very good friend of mine. She's a great teacher, and her name is Luciana. Hello, Luciana.
Hello, Faye.
How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks, and you?
I'm fine. Thank you, Lu. We are here because we want to hear from you. We want to ask you some questions. Okay?
Okay.
So let's call everybody. Everybody, come with us. Hello, everybody. Okay, Lou, we are back here. I hope everybody has subscribed, and now it's time to start a very brand new interview. Lou, tell us what you do, Lou.
I teach English. I use it to teach in companies. I teach business English, regular English. Most of my students are adults. And now I'm teaching online full time.
So, did it change with this pandemic time?
Some things have changed. I had to start using new platforms, so now I can use like 7, 8 different platforms depending on the student's preference. And I had also to adapt because I use it to use paper to write during classes, and now I'm using a platform to show what I need to show the students. And also, I use a small whiteboard where I can show one or another word when they need to check spelling. But things are adjusting well, I can say that. I haven't had any trouble.
Okay, can you show us your board?
Yeah, sure. It's right here. I'm just erasing a word that I used in my previous class.
Okay.
So,
Oh, okay. So then you just show them how to
yeah,
spell a word or something.
yeah. Sometimes some grammar rules, like I abbreviate subject, verb, and object, something like this.
Did a lot change for you? I mean, I know that you have new students like me, you know.
Yes,
I
yes.
am one of your students, but like did you lose a lot of pupils? Did you get some brand new ones? Because I know you teach adults, but did you have to open up for other, for other people that would come to you? What happened, like with your students? How did you
So,
deal with all of this?
before all this started, I had some students who had classes in person and didn't like online classes. So I lost those people because they didn't want to try online classes. They
They
said
just didn't try.
they didn't want to try at all.
Okay.
And then I lost maybe 2 students like this. But many people who had classes in person before could adjust very well. It was a smooth transition and
Okay.
it works perfectly well. What I think that we really need when we teach online is good connection.
Okay.
And the most important thing, the student needs the same material as you. I type and I send by email or I share through another platform, but both need to be on the same page. That's essential. Sometimes the connection is bad and we can only use audio.
Oh my God. Does that
Yes,
happen?
this happens, and it works perfectly well for them because they have calls, they have business calls, so they need to be used to get used to only listening and not seeing the person. So but this happens as well. My first class, I do a grammar test. It's a grammar test and a level test. So I ask the student to answer the grammar test before. In the first class, I check with the student, so I have the opportunity to follow, to observe if he can speak, can understand, or if he only knows some grammar, because these are two different things. And then the next class, I already have an idea of the material of the level I will start with. But even though I only define the level maybe 2 classes ahead, because it happens the first time, the first class, the person is shy, the person is afraid. Sometimes he hasn't been able to speak English for a long time and is kind of rusty. So I wait a little. I wait about a month sometimes. But
Oh, okay.
when it's a beginner, it's easier. Even though I have 2 options, I can start with a starter book that is a beginner book, but it's very slow. So it's really step by step. Or I can start from book 1.
Okay.
Then I decide. It's easy to see, and the first, second classes tell me everything I need about that student.
Yeah, that's right. Now tell me something. Do you usually teach once a week or you you have
Sometimes once a
students?
week, and sometimes twice a week, sometimes even more, depending on their needs. Sometimes they have classes twice a week, but they have a project going on and need some special support on something, or they have interviews. And then in these cases, we would schedule classes as much as 4 or 5 times a week.
Oh, okay. But with this quarantine, a lot of people have kids and they're
Yes.
crazy at home. I know by me because I'm completely crazy and they don't have time enough. Do you
Yes.
do you ask them to do any homework or you don't or you try? How do you feel that?
I always ask some homework, always. But I understand when they are not able to do it because
Yeah.
of their work or because of children. So I try to balance that. And when many of my students travel a lot, even now during the pandemic, they are still traveling
Oh, okay, because they work.
because of work.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
because of work.
So then the homework, I start in the next class, I do one exercise with them because I understand that it was impossible to do it.
Ah, yeah.
Traveling during the
Oh my
pandemic
God,
and
I
doing
know
English
that.
homework.
Now, just tell us what would you like to hear from other teachers? Like, because this is something new for me, okay? I've never interviewed anybody. This is the first time. And I think I love it. And I just
Nice.
want to do it more. So tell me something. What would you like to hear from other teachers? Like, what interests you from other teachers that I know we are a big group because there are teachers everywhere in this world. What would you like them to tell you?
I would like to hear about what changed for them with this pandemic, the challenges, and how they are dealing with the challenges. And
Yeah,
maybe the good aspects and the bad aspects of teaching online. That's it.
yeah, yeah. Lou, I think one of the questions that everybody wants to know is how do you get all your students? Because I know you have students from Sao Paulo and from out of Sao Paulo. Like, how did you get to know them? How did you
So
do that?
people who were working here before the pandemic, and after the pandemic, during the pandemic, we are in the middle of it, are still in other cities and or moved back to their hometowns. And also, I have students who were my students when they were living in São Paulo, and for some reason before the pandemic, they decided to move to other cities. And then we still have our classes. We haven't changed anything.
Do you make any kind of advertisement, or,
No,
how does it work for you?
no, I've never done any advertisement at all, never. And what happens? One student refers to the other. This is what happens all the time.
Do you ask questions before? How do you make it interesting for them?
I usually, when I meet a new student, I usually learn the industry they work in. So the industry tells me a lot. And then if the person tells me about his experience with the language, his use of the language, then I try to adjust. I use a lot of articles, and I tend to use articles from the industry the person works in.
Okay. So like you usually talk about what they work with.
Yes, yes, because it's the kind of language, the vocabulary they need, and they ask me a lot of questions about this vocabulary. So I usually use the industry they work in as a basis.
And how was for you when I asked you classes? How
So,
did you think about that? Like, oh my God, this crazy person wants classes. How did it work for you? How was it?
what was for me, it was like a challenge, that, especially because you work with children. And I don't have any experience working with children. I taught I worked as a tutor for some children in the past, but only to help with the school homework or with their questions, only things like that. Not really teaching the language. I've never taught the language to children. So this was a challenge for me to see things through their eyes, because my perspective at work is totally different. It's totally business, and but it's nice. It's really interesting to see that you are able to see things as the children do. So I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, absolutely. I love it. Really, I do. But it's very nice because you it seems to me that you prepare very well your classes. Do you do that? Do you prepare your
Yes,
classes?
I prepare. I do prepare my classes. I take notes. I where each student is, and as soon as I finish my class, I take notes.
Okay.
So
So you know where to start
the next one.
the next class.
Yes, yes,
And then
yes.
how do you start the class? Like, hello, how are you? Get your book? How do you do
No,
that? I mean,
no.
tell them because I know how it is, but tell them.
Yes, I ask how they are doing, how things are in the place where they live because of this pandemic, especially now that sometimes we are in different cities, different parts of the country. So we talk about that. Sometimes we talk about the challenges of this pandemic.
So it's like when we start like the conversation, you usually give them some space to talk to you,
Yes.
to just try to like how we say in Portuguese, we say like we change the key, like to from
Yes.
Portuguese to English. So to change the key, you just give them some free space to start talking, and then
Yes, yes, yes. And then the next thing I check homework if there is some.
okay.
And then I keep going. I start talking about the topic of the class. And basically, that's it.
If like you were with a new teacher in front of you, like what would you say to those new, very interested teachers that are watching you right now?
I think that the most important thing is to know your student. You need to know your student very well. You need to observe a lot because only when you observe, you know what you have to correct, what you have to teach, what they really master. So know your student very well. And because this gives you the tools to work, because if you only have placement tests and the test tells you, okay, the student is a beginner or intermediate or advanced, okay, this can help you, but that's not enough because the test only shows you the grammar part and
Absolutely.
not the way the person learns. You need to be able to see the student learning.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, Lou, that's right. Thank you very much. I know that everybody right now is saying thank you very much because um, what I thought about interviewing you is that I think us teachers, we need to talk to each other, you know,
Yes.
and there is no way we can talk to everybody. So it's very nice if we have interviews because then we can hear from other teachers, you
Yes,
know.
yes, we can learn from each other.
Absolutely. We keep learning every day, right? Don't you
Yes,
learn
yes,
every day? I learn every day. I have challenges every day. Like
yes,
nowadays more than anything, but even when we didn't have the pandemic,
yes,
I
yes,
mean, I learned every day something new. So
yes. Me too. I learn all the time. Every article, I learn something. So it's it's a constant learning process.
okay, Lou. So thank you very much, Lou, for your time.
Thank you, Faye.
I hope everybody likes it because it was really interesting to hear from you. And guys, who's gonna be next? Wait for me, okay? I will see you next time. Bye bye. Bye bye, Lou.
Bye bye, Faye.